You're listening to Witch Wednesdays, your weekly podcast source for all things witchcraft in the modern world. Join your hosts, Steph and Tara, every Wednesday morning as they dive into a new witchy topic.
Welcome back to Witch Wednesdays. This is Steph.
And this is Tara.
And you are listening to episode 30 about kitchen magic and breads.
Woohoo! What a combo!
Tara is very excited about breads, and we definitely wanted to just start talking about this because next week's episode is all about the next Sabbath in the Wheel of the Year, which is Lammas. And now that we are getting into harvest season, we are getting into all of these bread baking holidays.
Basically, yes.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can celebrate, and there's different like specific breads and things which we will get into. But we thought that it would be good to, start with kitchen magic in general, because we are also going to have episodes on making wine, mead, and cider, which Tara's also very excited about.
So excited about that one.
Yeah, I thought we would start with kitchen magic, and I think we're moving into fall, that like a lot of people spend more time in their kitchen, more time like making stuff, harvesting everything. So it's good to start with kitchen magic and then get into the breads.
Yes, which is one of my favorite kitchen magics. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, Tara is much more of a bread baker than I am, so
I love breads.
That's gonna be all her. So kitchen witchery is a favorite of both of ours as being hearth witches, and I would say Tara is more of a kitchen witch than I am, but we both use it. And it's a very easy way to integrate magic into your daily life. A lot of times we sort of separate the magical from the mundane, and you have your ritual space and sort of ritual celebrations, and that doesn't really transfer over into daily life. And the kitchen is one area that you can really combine the two. And we talked about herbs and oils and other ingredients that can be used in spell work, but these can also be used in regular meals to sort of add some magic in. And the difference between just cooking a regular meal like you normally do, throwing things together in a pot, and instead creating magic is all about your intent and focus.
Yes.
We've said this before, but I do not make every meal a magical one. Like I wake up at I wake up at 5:15 in the morning to make breakfast for John. I'm not making magical eggs at 5:15 in the morning. It's just not happening. I don't have very nice intent and focus at 5:15 in the morning.
I was like, I think it's nice enough that you wake up to make him eggs when you don't have to get up. So
yeah, I don't have to be up. So yes, that's nice. That's nice enough. But yeah, it's for me to like, focus and put good intentions into it. That's just not going to happen. So there are times when I just, make a regular meal, but I definitely could. Eggs is one of those things that you actually could make it magical if you wanted to. So
pretty much anything in the kitchen you can make magical if you want to. A lot of kitchen witches I know consider the kitchen a sacred space. So I think it's easier for them to get in that mindset. But even if you don't consider it a sacred space, kitchen witchery is one of the easiest ways to throw some witchery in your life and make things magical.
Absolutely.
Which is probably why we both do it.
Yes. So if you want to sort of use kitchen witchery as your primary mode of witchcraft, if you really want to consider yourself a kitchen witch, you probably do want to start considering your kitchen as a sacred space. It depends, of course, on your living situation, what your practice is like, and you probably can't turn your kitchen into an altar all of the time, but there are a few things that you can do to sort of transform your kitchen into your magical space.
Yeah.
Like any other part of your house, which we will, I think a couple episodes from now is house cleansing. Your kitchen can also collect unwanted energies, especially if you don't get a lot of sunlight in your kitchen, which a lot don't. Mine doesn't. Tara's does.
Mine gets all. I was gonna say mine has all.
Yeah, you have tons of windows, but just
Yeah.
because of like how my house is set up, we have 2 windows in the kitchen, but
They're small.
yeah, in Chicago, the houses are very, very close to each other. Like I could like lean out my window and touch my neighbor's house if I stretched. So
You wouldn't have to stretch that far.
yeah, I wouldn't have to stretch that far. Yeah. So those windows that are on that side are kind of like, I get a little bit of sunlight, but they're really like blocked from that house being there so close. So if you're like mine, don't get a lot of sunlight, your kitchen can collect a lot of energy like this. So if you have the time, it's good to, scrub the kitchen top to bottom if you want to, start over and completely make it a magical space. But if you do not have that sort of time, you just want some temporary methods, a good way to sort of balance the energy in your kitchen is, first of all, to declutter. I recommend this, magical or not.
Yeah.
Remove any sort of visual chaos like on the surfaces and things. You want to sweep up like crumbs and stuff, obviously, but sweeping is a good way that physical motion will get rid of stagnant energy out of the room as well.
So I always do a full sweep, and then I use my Besma. I'm mispronouncing it. I know I am, but
Besom.
Yep. See, I told you I was. And then I use that to sweep afterwards, because again, you're not actually sweeping with that, but that really helps me get in the proper mindset for cleaning my kitchen.
Yes.
And it's just a short little step.
You also want to open windows when you do this, so the energy has someplace to go out. And you can also do smoke cleansing, which will be a big part of what we talk about in house cleansing. So we'll get to that. If you want to clean it and want to set it up as sort of this magical space, you can also decorate it.
Mm-hmm.
You can create a sort of like mini altar if you want to. Either on the surface someplace, or a lot of witches do it in sort of a dedicated cabinet. So when you open that cabinet, you see like kind of like what you see in like a bigger altar, a bigger like ritual space, but just tucked inside a cabinet. It's kind of cute.
It is really easy to do, and I personally love the little cabinet idea, because it's so easy to have it set up, and then it's such an easy way to just kind of get that hit of, oh, I'm ready. It's a lot easier than scrubbing your kitchen top to bottom.
Yes.
And also, another thing to keep in mind is that if you are doing a smoke cleanse, don't do it right before you cook, depending on what you are using for smoke, because it can definitely impact the flavor of what you're going to make in the kitchen.
Yes. Good
So I just want to throw that out there as a warning. Like, lavender is usually fine, rosemary's fine. Sage can be kind of overpowering, depending on what you're making. So do keep that in mind. It is important to get the energy in balance before you start, but ways that you normally do it might not be the best in the kitchen. Do keep in mind what you're cleansing it for.
Good idea.
I've tried the sage thing right before I was making a concoction, and it completely destroyed the concoction. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So just keep that in mind.
Good tidbit. Yeah. But yes, there are a lot of things that you can include in sort of your little altar space that really fit well, into a kitchen. The normal things like candles or little statues. You have a cauldron or other tools for your practice would be good to keep in your little witchy cabinet. Crystals we went over. There's so many different ones that work with kitchen magic.
Yeah.
Potted plants, if you have the time and inclination to grow anything, it's a good place to, not in the cabinet since they need sunlight, but kitchen is a good place, windowsills and things. Especially if you are not only going to use those herbs and sort of like loose incense and stuff, but actually in your cooking. Basil is a good one that is for protection and prosperity. Rosemary is good for everything. Aloe vera is for love, success, and health. Little cactuses are adorable. Cacti for protection. Ferns attract fairies, and spider plants are easy because they don't need sunlight, and that's what I have. I have a spider plant.
So I have quite a few things, and I will throw out, like, if you have a small kitchen, because my kitchen's not that large for the space that I live in, It's an open floor plan though, so it kind of bleeds into the living room and the office area. But I actually have a vertical garden. So I can grow, I think I have 50 plants growing right now, and the footprint is only like 2 square feet because it just goes up instead of out. So there's a lot of really inventive ways you can do things like that if your kitchen is smaller. There are ones that hang from windows. There's just a ton of different ones. If you really decide that you want more plants in your space, it just helps you with your energy flow, and you're using them in your cooking and your witchcraft. I highly suggest looking vertical rather than keeping everything on the counter, because then you don't have any space in your counter, because I don't have a lot of counter space and I don't have any place for plants.
Yes. And it, not only helps with the visual clutter, but that also is a way to decorate, but in a useful manner.
Yes.
And
mine's white and it matches my cabinets, and it's taller than I am. So I think things are growing on the top, but I can't tell you for sure.
To be fair, you're like 5 feet tall.
I am very short. This is true.
You're like 5'4"?
I am 5'2" and a quarter.
Wow, you're shorter than I thought.
I'm teeny.
Little munchkin.
I know, I'm teeny. I'm smaller than my mom. I'm so bummed I didn't get taller than her. Anyway.
But yes, there are other ways to also decorate and treat it as a magical space if you're not, a plant person, not a green thumb. There are charms that you can hang for protection or good luck. You could burn incense or a candle or diffuse essential oils. Again, this would be one to just make sure that like the scents and things aren't really interfering with what you're cooking.
Yeah.
And you can arrange dried herbs in cute little jars. That's a very popular way to sort of decorate, but make it useful and make it feel sort of magical. I think that like apothecary look is
cute.
Associated with witches. We just love that aesthetic.
Right? I was like, I love that aesthetic.
we all
I don't have space in my little kitchen for it, but I think it's adorable.
We all love it. So now that we've gotten into sort of creating a magical space and making the kitchen, right for you, the next step is actually food magic. How do you do that? So the very first thing, obviously, is to set your purpose or intention before you prepare the meal.
That's like a theme.
Yes. So imagine that we say in every episode. It matters what your intention is.
Yes.
And I want to pause to say that we've gotten a couple of comments or questions about this, and I guess we haven't really like talked about it in other episodes. When we say like set your purpose or intention and spell casting, anything like that, you never have to do it out loud.
No.
I've gotten that question of like, the right words that I need to say, or if you are in the broom closet and you don't want to speak those, you don't have to say anything out loud. Your intent, know what your intention is. And if you are thinking it, then the universe knows what your intention is.
Yeah.
So you don't have to say anything out loud. I almost never practice out loud. I don't.
I think I only do on the Sabbaths.
Yeah,
I don't really do things day to day that I don't say blessed be day to day. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I never say anything out loud. There are like certain intentions that I set, like especially, in meditating, or if I'm going to like draw tarot cards and get my head in the right, mindset, and tell the tarot cards like my question and what I, want out of them, like what answers I'm looking for. But I say all that in my head. I never say that out loud. So.
Unless she's drunk on Halloween, then she says it out loud.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. But yeah, so set your intention, set your purpose before you begin preparing any meal, but it doesn't have to be out loud. So. Then you would want to select foods and ingredients that are suitable for your intention, which is why we went over that with herbs and things. They each have different correspondences. And when we talk about the Sabbaths, we tell you all the different foods associated with that. And you're generally going to intuitively know these kind of things without us telling you. Because you know what the difference is between sweet foods and spicy foods and the different kind of feelings that they invoke within you when you eat them, that corresponds to magic in the same way.
And for the Sabbaths and things, it's what's seasonal. So a lot of times everything is based on being in season or coming into season or that kind of thing. So it's you can watch things bloom, when they're ready to eat, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you also want to choose foods that you enjoy, because
Yes.
just because something has a magical association doesn't mean that you should force yourself to eat something that you don't like.
No, as I think we've mentioned before, like if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. Don't force it. Like,
yes, there are a lot of things that other people really like that, just don't work for us, like aren't our favorites. Tara, what was the one that patchouli? You hate patchouli, even though we talked about that just like doesn't work for you, like something that other people love. And like Tara loves rose, and rose is really not my favorite. So
I love rose. I use rose in everything.
Yeah, so food is the same way. Just because it has an association, we associate squash and things with the harvest season, and we're getting into lammas and babon and all of that stuff, and squash is associated. If you don't like squash, don't eat squash. Like, it's not going to,
don't force it upon yourself.
Yeah, you're not going to have the same like positive effect that it would have eating something that you like. So don't force yourself to eat things that you do not enjoy.
Yeah, that's just a good rule of thumb in life. Don't force yourself to do something that's not for you.
Just because we mentioned it on a podcast episode does not mean that.
Yes, just because a stranger recommends it and you think we're amazing, it doesn't mean you need to eat something, especially if you're allergic to it or anything like that.
So once you have the things that you like and they're suitable for your intention, what you want to do is visualize your intention as you prepare your ingredients. So when you're, chopping things, peeling, when you're heating anything up, you just want to visualize where your intention has manifested. So think ahead to the future and what things are going to be like when your intention has manifested, and just keep that in mind as you are preparing everything.
This is a time also, again, I have a small kitchen, so I like to cast a circle as I'm preparing all the ingredients and getting things ready. It just helps me get into that mindset and really focus my intention and energy into exactly what I'm preparing and why I'm preparing it. But again, I have a small kitchen and it's set up in a circle, so it works very well for casting a circle there.
That's very true.
It is, yeah. I can just see a little light bulb in Steph's head going, oh
yeah, I'm picturing it now.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, you also want to eat with intention. So when your food is ready, continue visualizing that same thing that you did while you were preparing it. Visualize that energy of the food transforming into exactly what you want to manifest it into.
Yes.
And then, of course, give it time. So your intentions are going to manifest when they are ready to, when you are ready for it, and it's not going to happen overnight. So just be sure to give it time.
Yeah, it's not like the love potions you see on TV where you take a swig and immediately you're in love with so-and-so. Like that, no.
No. And we have an episode, I don't want to say coming up. It's like 10 episodes from now.
It's coming up eventually.
It's coming up eventually, but we are going to have, creating your own spell, and then also troubleshooting and why it may not be working. And one of those things is give it time. So preface that.
We also had quite a few questions coming into the email about why spells might not be working. So hopefully the troubleshooting episode will help a lot with that.
Yes.
It's hard to say from afar, like it didn't work because of A, B, or C, but if we can help you troubleshoot your spells, hopefully you'll be able to find the cause.
Yes, that is coming up. Not to worry.
Yes. Yes. We totally feel you there.
So before we get into like the bread side of this, we've got a few tips for magical cooking and also some book recommendations, because we always have book recommendations.
We love books.
So some quick tips for magical cooking. Make sure you're in a positive mood when you are working your culinary magic.
Unless you really need the negative, but most kitchen witchery is not negative. It's mostly positive and bolstering. And
yes, that is true. Perform any self-care rituals before you begin cooking. So, meditate, cleanse yourself, listen to music, whatever you need to do.
Yes.
Make sure that your intention is clear. So you're universe and your food knows what you want. Share your magic. This is if you are out of the broom closet. Share your magical intention for the food with anyone who is sharing the meal with you. So if I were, Tara is going to be here for Lammas. So if we are making anything together, I would share with her, what the intention is. And we would probably do something together.
Shocking.
Yay.
Yay.
Again, kitchen witchery is easily incorporated at the Sabbats. So if you're already, wanting to celebrate, that sort of season, making something magical at that time is a lot easier than just jumping into kitchen witchcraft at any other time. That's why we focus on like food and drinks in each of our episodes, because it's like a very easy time to do it.
It's very easy. It's very traditional because a lot of holidays were celebrated by sharing food and wine and things. Also, it's delicious. So there's that.
True. Again, remember, it's not always necessary to look it up. You are going to know what feels right to you. Spicy food is generally protective. Citrusy food is purifying. Sweet food is loving. But you're going to know these things. It'll come to you.
Yeah.
And if you have a very specific magical intention and something that is sort of more than one meal, you might want to consider sort of a magical food diet. So you would keep foods that have similar energies and keep working at it, through a consistent period of time, because a lot of workings when we want something bigger are going to take a longer amount of time, more meals, more foods. So might be worth considering mapping out an entire diet plan to associate with your magical intentions.
Or just incorporate it day to day. So I blessed some orange citrus supplements, and I've been adding them to my water in the morning just to make sure that my intention's set for the day and my focus is still on what my working is for. And because I know it's going to take a while to manifest. So that's just kind of way day to day that I remind myself of my purpose, and I'm continuing to move towards and put energy towards the casting. So it doesn't always have to be food in the kitchen that you're making, but.
Very true. And we have a few book recommendations for you. So we are going to link these on our website, which is www.witchwednesdays.com. We will have a corresponding blog post for this podcast. So we will link all of these books just to Amazon to make it easier for you to find if you are interested in any of these.
Yeah.
So first up is Wicca in the Kitchen by Scott Cunningham. We've talked about Scott Cunningham lots of times.
Because I like his writing. It's just great.
Yeah, he is like, great.
I can't get away from it.
Yeah, great. Was I think he passed away, but
he did.
Great resource, great writings. So this is, if you are Wicca based like Tara is, this is a very good book for you.
He talks a lot about the correlations between the god and goddess and different foods and vegetables, and how he's very focused on magical meals, so the Sabbats, and but he does daily life, how to make it magic in the kitchen every day. So
another good Wicca one is called Wicca Kitchen Witchery by Lisa Chamberlain.
I also like this one.
And the Wicca Cookbook by Jamie Wood and Tara Seafelt.
That's not me, just heads up.
He's not Tara's last name.
No, that is not my last name. I wish that was me, but no, it's not.
So if you are not a Wiccan, the rest of the resources on this list would be for you. Magic in the Kitchen by Leandra Witchwood. The Kitchen Witch by Soraya. We've talked about that one before in other episodes. A Kitchen Witch's Cookbook by Patricia Telesco. Grimoire of a Kitchen Witch by Rachel Patterson.
This one is excellent with instructions. So like if you're looking for more detailed instructions on how to like set up your kitchen and different specific recipes and spells to try, I like this one for that. More specific stuff, like a recipe on how to be a kitchen witch.
There's also Witch in the Kitchen by Kate Johnson. The Book of Kitchen Witchery by Coridwin Greenleaf. Hearth Witch's Compendium by Anna Franklin. We talked about that too in our book.
This is one of my favorite books. I just reread it.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I really
very detailed.
Yes, very detailed. It's dense. Don't expect to read in an afternoon, but it's really good.
And the last one on the list is One Pot Witchery by Barbara Ann Dacca.
Who doesn't love a one pot?
I love One Pot.
Right? So easy.
Yeah. So let's get into then bread magic. This is going to be a long episode. It is what it is. We
could have broken up into two, but no.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, we thought about breaking them up, but no. So, bread magic. Bread magic is not new. A lot of people associate it with like England and Europe, but it's not. Bread magic is time honored. It's from cultures all over the world. Bread is just one of those things. All the steps of making bread from scratch can become a spell. And then the bread that once it's made and consumed is the vehicle that delivers the actions of that spell. So there are a ton of different superstitions and ways that this bread is incorporated into different cultures. So we're just going to tell you a couple of them. So in Scandinavia, the superstition is to add some of the dew collected on midsummer, Litha, and add that to the bread dough in order to protect the family that resides in the home. In most European cultures, it's important to bring bread and salt into a person's home when they first move in as a blessing.
And a protection.
Yes. And there is an Appalachian superstition that you must pay attention when first slicing into a loaf of bread, because slicing into a hole in the bread may bring death.
Yeah, pay attention to that.
Dropping bread on the floor is a sign that a friend in need will soon show up asking for help. And in many traditions, charms are baked into loaves of bread. And the different charms serve as divination of the future of the person who has taken the piece of bread.
This is similar to, if anyone's familiar with the Mardi Gras tradition of king cake. They bake a small baby charm into the cake. So that's kind of the same correlation there.
Yep. Lots of them. So all over the world, bread is important. So it's definitely a magical process for manifesting a goal, bringing protection into your home, anything like that. So we have a lot of different recipes, different ways that we make bread. The main one, well, Tara's got a lot to say, but
I will try and keep it brief.
The main one that I wanted to say that we are also I will put this recipe in the blog post for today's episode, is Lammas oat bread. That's a very popular one for the Sabbath that's coming up next week. This is like one of the most popular ones to make for Lammas, and it's also very easy because there's 5 ingredients. So.
Yeah, pretty easy. Mine is a little more complicated than I traditionally make, so this one's way easier.
Yes, so it is oatmeal, buttermilk, flour, salt, and baking soda, which is the easiest bread you can possibly make, because it's a little more difficult to work with yeast, I think, for beginners.
Yes.
In bread making. So when you when you find like oat bread, or like Irish soda bread, like those are a lot easier because there's no yeast in them. So, these 5 ingredients. So I was going to go ahead and read the whole recipe, but I'm not. I'm going to put it on the website.
I think you should put,
kind of direct your attention to the website. Isn't that a good idea, Tara?
I think that's an excellent idea. And then, so I think she's going to post this, and then I will also ask her to post my recipe, which is quite a bit more complex. There's a lot more ingredients. It's a garlic herbal braid bread. So I love this bread a lot. I use rosemary from my own garden. I use dill from my own garden, basil from my own garden. I do use yeast, which I completely agree, for very, very beginners. I don't recommend you start with a yeast-based bread. It does take watching, and it can go awry quite quickly if you get distracted.
Yes.
So it's a lot more complicated. And then with either bread, I love braided bread. I think it's delicious and magical, and it's amazing because while you're braiding it, you have a lot of time to set your intention and focus. I braid bread for almost every Saturday because I love it so much. But in this case, it also looks very pretty because you have the different herbs on the different sections. So like one bite will have more rosemary, one bite will have more dill, one bite will have more basil. So,
and I think the tradition of braided breads, I mean, they're traditional witchcraft because there is sort of like knot and stitch witchery is also like a part of it, but I think braided bread in particular is very popular in Wiccan traditions.
Yes, it is. I learned it from a priestess friend of mine, and as she said earlier, you can the whole process of making bread can be very magical, but the process of braiding the bread that you're making by hand with the intention of sharing with your friends and family and just celebrating the turning of the season, it's just so easy for it to become very magical very quickly, and it's soothing.
Yes.
I love braiding in general, but braiding bread is just amazing, and then it bakes more evenly also.
Good to know.
It's because the thickest part isn't on the middle, it's on the sides because of the way the braid works. Anyway, and then there's air pockets and things. So it ends up baking very fluffy and nice, and I like it a lot, a lot, if you can't tell.
So head to our website. We will share the recipes for both of those with you. So if you wanted to bake some Lammas bread, you will be able to.
I highly recommend that you bake some Lammas bread. It's delicious. And one thing that I also recommend is you start with the non-yeast. Because, like I said, yeast can go badly. Like sometimes if you forget it, it starts getting out of the bowl and then it attacks your fridge and it will swallow things that are in your fridge near it.
Yes, yeast is a living thing.
It is a living thing.
So you have to activate it. You have to let it rise. There's a lot of things that go into it. And I mean, it's great. It makes delicious bread, obviously. But again, I mean, if you are adept in the kitchen in other areas, then maybe yeast will be fine for you. But if you are truly a beginner cook or beginner kitchen witch, then I would not start with my Lammas oat bread is super easy, I promise.
Yeah, mine is a lot more complicated, I promise.
But we will share, we will share both of those with you. So if you want to head to www.witchwednesdays.com, those will be there for you by the time you are listening to this. Yay! We are on top of things.
She says we, but
I made me. You're welcome. Oh, the hallmark of my personality and yours.
Exactly. It works out beautifully for this partnership that we have going on.
Yeah, yin and yang. That's how we work.
Exactly.
But that is all we have. This has been long enough. So like,
I have more to say, but no.
Yeah, we have so much more to say, but that is enough for kitchen magic and breads. So the rest will be on the website.
Yes,
but we will see you next week for All About Lammas.
Yay, Lammas!
Bye.
Bye. Follow us on Insta.
Thanks for listening to Witch Wednesdays with Steph and Tara. Love our content? Consider donating at anchor.fm/witch-wednesdays to help keep our podcast up and running. Please leave us a voicemail on that same site if you have any questions or comments, and follow us on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast.